Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of I Take Me With Me. I want to jump right into today's topic, which is about medicinal drugs and our natural bodies. I will try to use less terminology and make it as simple as possible as I discuss this with all of you. So, the medicinal and drug industry is a $1 trillion industry. And in this episode, on this podcast, I will stick to particularly talking about psychiatric drugs. Now, the research tells us that these psychiatric drugs have done a lot of good, but research also tells us that they have done as much harm as good. I know earlier I said I will stick to psychiatric drugs, but I want to talk about all of medications in general. And I want to say that, with mental illnesses, they're primarily caused by chemical imbalances in the brain. And, doctors think that they can be fixed by providing drugs. And drugs have taken over everything. They have put therapy and other treatments to the side, which is not good because now when you're on all these drugs, you are suppressing the problems. You're suppressing the actual causes of your problems. You're not addressing them, and they become underlying issues. And like I said, it's not just for mental illnesses, right? With any other disease. For example, I have experience when I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, I was simply given pills. I was given medication to maintain the disease. Now, how awful is that? We're not given the means of resolving the disease or the illness. We're basically told, hey, you have this disease, you've been diagnosed with it, you have to live with it for the rest of your life, and this is how you'll manage it. And how will you manage it? By these medications that we prescribe you. While I'm thankful for that diagnosis because it gave me a way to move forward and analyze and heal myself and be where I am today, but at the time, I was under shock. I was paralyzed. I didn't know how to handle the news. And, it's honestly a bit terrible that my doctor and most doctors, she didn't ask me, what could be the root of this problem? Why did you manifest this disease in your body? How did you end up getting to this? She didn't talk about my history. She didn't talk about what could be the root. She didn't talk about, there are ways to cure it. None of that. She just said, I'm going to prescribe you these pills, be on these pills, and this is how you will maintain it. And in my experience, it's month after month, year after year, after a couple of phases of using those prescribed pills, if they're not working, hey, let's increase the strength, or let's bring the strength down, or let's change the brand of the pills. Let's change, what pills you are using if these are not working. And that's all they tell you. That's all my doctor told me. Please tell me otherwise. If you've had a different experience, or even if you've had a similar experience, reach out to me. I'd love to hear that. After this news was given to me, I had no choice but to accept that I had the disease, to feel my emotions, to let it all out, and just tell myself, okay, well, this was a huge shift in life. Now I have this disease in my body, which is apparently chronic, and there's no way to heal it. That's what my doctor said. That's what Google says, and yeah, I'm just gonna live with it for the rest of my life. So let me just keep taking these pills, these 4 tablets every single day, and hope that, that'll be it. That's just my life now. And now ask me, did the pills even help me maintain the disease? Were the pills enough? Did I just go back to my regular life by being on these pills? No. I hoped I would, but no. Because guess what? The pills weren't helping. The symptoms weren't resolving. The symptoms kept coming up in different ways. I kept losing so much weight. I experimented with so many different diet plans, with so many different foods, with different things, and changing up my lifestyle to see what could maintain the disease. Not going into details, but let me tell you, the symptoms were absolutely horrendous. My life was in shambles. I could not cope with it. I didn't know what had happened to me, what had happened to my life, and it was just absolutely a very, very dark phase in my life. Now, pills, medications can be good, they can be helpful in some cases if they are used as an adjunct, with other treatments. And, a lot of times our disease manifests in our body, in different parts of our bodies, because that part of our body is compromised because of an underlying issue. There is something going on in our brains, trauma, inner wounds, unhealed things in ourselves that come out, that manifest in diseases. And they affect different specific parts of our bodies, which is unique to everyone, because that's where the energy gets trapped. And now the biggest problem with these medications is that they're not dealing with the underlying issues. So many children now in the United States have been put on drugs, age of 5 and under. They've been prescribed with antipsychotics, for example. Our population is becoming easily diseased, easily diagnosed, and easily being put on drugs and medications to deal with it on the surface. Part of the information that I'm sharing with you, I have, discovered as part of my research and experience, and also a lot of it is in the book called The Body Keeps the Score. It's a great read. It's not a light read. It's pretty intense with medicinal and psychology terminology. It's a heavy science and research based. But I am sharing with you a lot of the points here regarding drugs and how they affect our bodies, and feel free to do your own research on this. So drugs have become so profitable in this industry. Medical journals rarely even publish articles on non-drug treatments for mental health problems, for other problems, because it's so heavily focused on drugs. Now back to me being on these pills. They weren't doing anything for me. I tested them for some time, for a couple of months. They weren't doing anything. And so I made this tough, dedicated decision that I do not want drugs in my body. I do not want to rely on drugs. I will not depend on drugs, and I do not want these drugs. Now, I don't recommend if, you're on medication to stop the medication, but that was a personal decision I made with my willpower in, rewiring my brain, telling myself that I will slowly get off these drugs as I am doing all this inner work to heal my body. It's a stated fact that human beings can change their own physiology. We can change our own physiology and inner equilibrium by not depending on drugs. Yes, you heard that right. We don't have to be on drugs. We are capable enough of changing our own physiology and inner chemicals, whatever is going on in our bodies, our hormones, our chemicals, everything inside, we are naturally able to change that. We have the capability of healing of ourselves, of our bodies, of our minds, of our souls, and restoring our well-being. When I was living with this disease, it felt like I was trapped. I was suffering. I was prisoned. I was suffocating. And you know what? A lot of us go through traumas in our lives, in our early lives, and nobody teaches us to be able to heal from that trauma, to find different ways to heal from that trauma, natural ways, and to restore our autonomy. Most of the time, we're stripped away from our independence, from our freedom, by being put on medications and being trapped in the so-called medical system. And you know what you're doing there? You're giving away your power. We give away our power to something else, to someone else. But guess what? You have the power within you. Would anyone know your body better than you? Really, think about it. Would anyone else, anything else, know you better than you? You live in your own body. You live in your mind. You, out of anyone, have the most power, the most knowledge, and the most freedom and right over your body and your mind. So you would know what the best thing for you is. Now here's what I told myself. If I caused my body to manifest this disease, well, guess what? Just like that, I can cause my body to undo that disease. Nothing is set in stone. If there were certain situations, circumstances, if there was a certain environment in my body that led my cells to change in a way that caused them to malfunction and create a disease, well, then there can be a new environment created. There can be new situations. The cells can be changed to get back to their natural form, to change into a healthy version of themselves as they're replicating, and that disease can be undone. Now again, I just want to tell my listeners that I'm not telling you to stop medication. Cold and and get on healing yourself without medications, you can do that, but I am in no ways advising you to do that right now. It takes a very intense inner looking. It takes a certain process to be able to do that, and I'm not going into that in this podcast, so I advise you not to do that. This is simply for discussion purposes and to raise awareness. Any suffering that we are going through in our minds, in our bodies, any pains, it all requires a healing process. And there is an inner sense of self in all of us that we have to focus on. It takes getting on the journey of self-awareness and connecting with ourselves within, going within, that helps us restoring our natural health and succeeding in that healing process. It takes reflecting, analyzing, and diving into what is the underlying issue. Rather, there can be multiple. What are the underlying issues that are causing you your specific suffering, your specific pain, your specific disease? And know that there are natural ways of resolving those through even basic activities like breathing, moving, touching. We can create environments around us and within us that can make us feel safe and that can help us thrive. And there are multiple natural ways of doing these. A lot of this is able to be achieved through our mindsets and our beliefs. Our beliefs are huge, and that's where reprogramming and shifting our mindset, rewiring our brain comes into the picture. Even with something as simple as healing from a cold or a fever or an allergic reaction, our mind has so much power. It has the power to heal our bodies. It has the power to change our circumstances, to change our life. It's all about training our minds and consciously using them in our favor, because your life and your body is being created regardless whether you're consciously creating certain thoughts or focusing on something. It's already being created. Everything that we are manifesting, the suffering, the pain, it's already being created with our minds. So why not undo it by being aware of what is happening? Alright, my loves, I'm going to finish off by reminding you that no one knows you better than you. No one knows your body better than you. You are a brave soul. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Please share this with a friend, coworker, or family member if they will find value in it. Reach out to me on my Instagram if you'd like to connect. If you're determined to invest in yourself, to enrich your life, and change your life for the better, I will be providing more options soon. That's all from me for now. I'll talk to you in my next episode. Take care of yourself. Bye.